What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream breaking news episode of For the People podcast. And of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. Yeah, we're not even doing the counting today. We're just going to have to get right into this because this is nuts. I wish I could say that the US's and Netanyahu's, or more specifically Trump's and Netanyahu and Israel's move against Iran wasn't predictable and we couldn't have seen this coming, except for I've been saying that this was coming for weeks now. There have been a few people talking about this, but I was very clear. This is coming. The negotiations are farcical. I've been very clear that both parties, despite what Democrats might have you believe, want this to happen, which you can only believe. It's the only logical conclusion when everybody's taking money from AIPAC, or some are slutting themselves out for free, like Jasmine Crockett. Right? She just be praising Israel and do whatever they want for the free ski. This was predictable. And Iran's response was also predictable, as I've discussed. I said this, the way, and we're going to get into it, but the way that Iran is responding right now, even still, is reserved. Like they could obliterate multiple military installations, and they've attacked them. But even still, they warned the U.S. soldiers in advance to try and minimize casualties. But they've attacked in multiple countries already, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. So Trump has officially declared war on Iran. I know what a lot of you might be thinking. How did he declare war on Iran on a Sunday? Or excuse me, a Saturday? Yeah, because Congress is in session. Don't you need to vote for that? Doesn't Congress reserve the right to declare war? Yeah. All that's true. Trump just don't care. He just doesn't care. And as you can imagine, not just Republicans, but Democrats, specifically the ones who wanted to move the war powers resolution vote to next week, they're really quiet right now. So let's check out a couple minutes of Trump's speech declaring war on Iran. Y'all gonna have to try to hold y'all breakfast, try not to throw up, because bruh, it's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, you want to know how ridiculous it is? Like, if you want to know, like, if you want a prediction of how ridiculous it is, he showed up with a USA hat on, unironically. Like, you already know what time it is. Let's get into it.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger
vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Yeah, those terrible people that literally warn you in advance before they attack a military installation, which is technically totally up for grabs. They wouldn't be doing anything wrong or violating any peace treaties or anything by retaliating by striking a military installation without warning them. But those terrible people allowed the U.S. soldiers to get out before attacking. Really quick, how many Iranians were in the Epstein files? We're talking about terrible people. Because if that was a litmus test on whether or not a country should be attacked, I feel like Iran should have been attacked. Not just the U.S., but a bunch of countries in the West at that point, right? But whatever.
Danger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the...
Yeah, that is a lie. This is what I be talking about. How can you as a president or a vice president get up there and outright lie about other countries, especially when these lies can lead to a literal world war? Yes, they have been chanting death to America. Do you know why? because America has intervened in their governments, overthrown their governments, attacked their people, killed their people, stolen their oil, stolen their resources, sanctioned them into oblivion for almost a century now. Their desire to chant dead to America, which actually is more so dead to the institution of America, because even as they chant dead to America, they are still showing enough grace to warn your troops before they retaliate. Not initiate an attack, but retaliate. But this man says that Iran has been targeting U.S. troops, has been targeting Americans in America for decades. Do y'all want to know what the death toll is, or at least before today? I can't speak after today because it might be a little bit different. But you know what the death toll was? The total amount of Americans killed by the Iranian military was 0. 0. He is outright lying. And the U.S. is going for the consequence for it, unfortunately.
Innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel.
Iran proxies? I'm not even gonna get into that. That is the most ridiculous. Dog, do you know how many countries would be waging war with the U.S.? Like, I would say, I would probably venture to be more than half of the world. If the U.S. citizens were held responsible for every attack a proxy did, because I don't even know if that's true. I gotta look it up, but bruh, almost every single terrorist organization in the world is a U.S. proxy. If it's not a proxy of the U.S., it's a proxy of the U.S. Either way, we're funding it. If it's not a proxy of the U.S., it's a proxy of Israel. And he's like, yeah, man, we're going to talk. Let me bring up something that happened in the 80s in Beirut and allege that it's from an Iranian proxy. This is the excuse. These are the piss poor excuses he is using to put American lives in danger on behalf of Israel.
In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have...
Boy, this is a lot of words for him to just say, man, look, my name appears in those files a lot more than I thought they would, and Netanyahu told me to attack Iran. Like, it was a lot of words. You go with a lot of excuses, dog. Like, we know what time it is. But all right, man, go ahead, continue.
Soaked
It's ridiculous.
The earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before.
Really? That? We've never seen anything like that before? Okay.
Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror.
What we haven't seen is a country literally kill its own people. Like, claim that 1,200 people were killed, and then when you do the math and you find out, Israel shelled its own people, its own homes. That's what we actually haven't seen before. A country allegedly getting attacked by a terrorist organization, and to get rid of the terrorists, they kill half of the casualties lost that day of their own people. That's insane. That's what we've never seen before, actually. But please continue about how Iran is evil and they have to be dealt with.
And just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States.
Oh, wow. I didn't know. Did y'all know that Trump has a problem? Not that this actually happened, because that was Mossad killing people on the streets in Iran during those initial protests. And then that's what actually sparked larger protests of Israel in the U.S.'s intervention. But whatever. But did y'all know that all of a sudden Trump has a problem with governments killing people in the streets during protests? Did somebody give Renee Good the message? Like whenever ICE just like shot her in cold blood and then he called her a terrorist? Somebody give old boy the message, the nurse, when he was exercising his right to bear arms and exercising his right to protest? And he was shot after they disarmed him? That's really weird how like not even a month has passed and now Trump has a problem with the government using its powers to kill people exercising their right to protest. Damn, bro, I really hope nobody invades the U.S. for that. Since he's offering he's the one offering the logic that it's actually justified in going to war with the country for that. The very thing that he just got done doing in front of the world. And we still don't even know what the hell the goal was, by the way. Like, at least I know what the protests in Iran were about. What exactly did you send ICE to Minnesota for while allegedly resolving an issue that dealt with fraud and taxes and daycare? Yeah, so like there's that. But let's continue.
States, in particular, my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again.
They can
never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordo.
Yeah, nah, we ain't gonna let this slide because he's about to tell y'all how they obliterated these nuclear facilities, right? That there weren't any weapons, right? He always leaves that part out. They never found any weapons at these facilities. There's not been any evidence showing that there were any weapons at the facility, even after they obliterated them. But those facilities that the U.S. allegedly obliterated, he's using those facilities being currently rebuilt, allegedly, as justification to go to war. And he said, we've obliterated those facilities. They won't be able to create nuclear weapons for years. They won't, not that they were trying to, but he was saying they wouldn't even be able to enrich for years after that attack. And there were people in Iran that were reporting like, we don't know where that came from. We actually, they attacked us and they hit us, but like, we're good. If they wanted to, they could restart production and enrichment in months. And they said that. Now they didn't enrich during these negotiations, but yeah. So which one is it? Did you, because this has to have some implication on whether or not anybody supports this operation, by the way, because was it a successful military operation or not? Because if you're lying about the success of it and it was actually a failure, you can't even get that right, is what you're telling me. And the American people are supposed to believe that you could somehow wage an entire war with this country? And that you won't just lie about the results until it's too late, like George Bush did, for example? I do have to remind everybody, too, this is exactly what he accused John Bolton of doing. Remember when he attacked John Bolton during his administration last time around? He said that John Bolton wanted to run the Libya model, the Libya strategy in Iran. And he literally was going in on him on Twitter. Then if I'm not mistaken, did a press conference about it right after. Right after he fired him. Was going in, not even just on John Bolton, but basically anybody who wanted to go to war with Iran. But the John Bolton one was what stuck out to me because of the Libya situation. And there's a huge difference between the Libya situation, honestly, and Iran. We've had a lot of experience in Libya. And Libya didn't have as much time to prepare. And Gaddafi actually gave a lot more grace to the U.S. than Iran is about to give them right now. I don't think he really knew exactly how much they were capable of or how far they're willing to go, and how much they're willing to sacrifice their image in an international community, and how much they could manipulate the narrative against him. I don't think he was accounting for all that. Yeah, Iran is not making that mistake. And yet, the very thing Trump attacked Bolton for supporting, he fired Bolton for this. He fired Bolton because of this, because of what Trump is doing at this very moment. That is why Bolton was fired from the last administration. And we're supposed to believe that these decisions are being made, that these decisions aren't being made under duress, like these decisions aren't being made at the behest of another power, another entity, and we all know who that is. Nothing that has happened over the last several days, guys, over the last several weeks, even the last year, was a coincidence. Everything was leading up to this moment. Those Epstein files that were selectively dropped and are still being selectively dropped, selectively redacted, et cetera, all that was, in preparation. Trump, the attempt on his life recently, even before, but definitely recently, was a lead up to this moment. In case Trump got cold feet, they were like, hey, really quick, don't forget, we can touch you. Pew, pew, pew. Don't forget, we can touch you whenever we feel like it. Don't forget, those people in your administration, they don't work for you. They work for us. Ask Huckabee.
Natanz and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to.
Bro, you know what that deal consisted of? That deal consisted of them, I'm not joking, y'all. Outside of getting rid of all their ballistic missiles, which is absolutely nuts. No sovereign nation would do that. That's the first thing. But part of that deal, part of the deal was for them to give up all of the uranium that Iran had already enriched. Not just give it up, but give it to the United States. Anything that they had already enriched. Now, understand, like, a lot of Iran's energy infrastructure comes from their uranium. Right? People don't even understand, like, that's actually that's a large part of the reason why Iran is so dedicated to ensuring that their nuclear enrichment will not be derailed, because they have to make sure that they diversify their energy sector, because the United States and Israel won't leave them the hell alone. So whereas oil, is used in the country and it's sold outside of it, at least when you have a nuclear energy option within your country, your energy distribution won't be impeded whenever the U.S. starts doing this thing and you have to start counting your pennies. That's why. But man, this is nuts, y'all.
Do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil.
What?
But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions.
Y'all, I can't, bro. Khomeini, not just Khomeini, but do y'all understand how many times, like, Iran has come out and said, Khomeini has come out and said, a lot of people have come out and said, like, Iran will not make a nuclear weapon. And even if it is to their benefit when it comes to military strategy, they won't do it because there is a religious aspect that they have to consider. Their religion will not allow them to make a nuclear weapon. They've been very clear about that. They're like, we're not going to make one. How many times do you want them to say it? And how many languages do you want them to say it in? And how many locations, how many places, like how many interviews, how many people have to come out and repeat the same thing? Yeah, we don't. Not only are we not making one because we don't really want to, we didn't have any intention on making one, but our religion will not allow us to. And I'm sure there's like a subtle undertone, right? Because bitch, if it did allow us to, we would have been had one and popped y'all asses. I'm surprised you don't believe us. Because we have every reason to make one. We've had every reason to make one. And once again, it isn't like they can't make one discreetly. if they wanted to, right? Because as I've reminded people time and time again, that hypersonic missile that hit Israel, I've said and I maintain the reason that 12-day war ended wasn't because the U.S. struck the facilities. The U.S. struck Iran's nuclear facilities because of that hypersonic missile that was built in the darkness of the night with pieces that were shipped piece by piece from China that the U.S. nor Israel knew were getting shipped. Iran put that whole together. No one knew about it. Israel got hit, and they realized that quickly, oh shit, we're not ready for this. Trump attacked their facilities, say that it was a success. We're gonna pretend like it was a success on our end, and then we're gonna stop. Because we ain't got no more rockets left in this Iron Dome to protect us. We did not know they had that capability, and we didn't know that missile hit us until it did. So if they wanted to make a nuclear weapon, and yet they haven't, and Trump sits again, and bro, this in and of itself should be impeachable offenses. Because we saw this script play out in World War I. Almost literally everything they said about Germany, that the West said about Germany, Great Britain and the US specifically, the Allied powers, which damn near really were the Axis powers, they were all lies. And all lies. They just lied and lied and lied. And it was because a small group of people wanted to get rid of Germany and Russia as competition during the Industrial Revolution because Germany and Russia were busting their ass. Because, even though they say they love capitalism, when capitalism comes for them, they don't like it no more. And the Tsar and the Kaiser at the time were cousins. So they were not just close on a political level and an economic cooperation level, but they were literally family. Like they had to come up with this grand lie about Germany to get them to go against each other. And really they had to take Russia kicking and screaming because they didn't want to fight Germany. But it was these lies that led to World War I, which obviously led to World War II. Beneath more lies. And we're seeing the same thing play out again. And the U.S. is not going to come out on top this time. I'm trying to tell y'all.
And we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland.
What, y'all? Oh my God. Can you believe it? They're developing long-range missiles. Can you believe a military of a superpower is developing long-range missiles? Bruh.
Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to
those IEDs. And I'm gonna stop there because, first of all, IEDs were not invented by Iran. Actually, they were invented by the United States. The United States trained terrorists to make improvised explosive device. I don't know why you say roadside bomb instead of improvised explosive device. Oh, maybe because then at that point you would probably realize that IED wouldn't be a word in Arabic nor Farsi. It wouldn't be an acronym, IED, improvised explosive device. But that's what it stands for and is universally used. But that's what it means. And the reason the acronym rolls off the tongue like that is because the U.S. invented them. We invented them so that those people could use improvised explosive device devices to attack our enemies when we were trying to conduct regime change wars in the Middle East. Like, bro, this is completely nuts. You know, later on in that speech, this man he said people dying, we're going to go to war and there are going to be some brave servicemen and women who die. That happens in war. Huh? Bro, after you just gave piss poor justification after piss poor justification after piss poor justification, you just going to flippantly talk about somebody's life being lost, somebody's brother, somebody's sister, somebody's husband, somebody's wife, kids dying in an unnecessary war. And I'm almost positive, as we get into this, that that's already happened. Because ain't no way they're just letting those Navy ships just hang out in their region anymore. Like, you are not going to sit there and shrug off the fact that you are sending U.S. service members who die because of Israel. Because of Israel. And really quick too, I gotta say, y'all, I told y'all that this was coming. And I know it sounds crazy to say, but people have been telling me for what, maybe 2 years now that even with Venezuela, they're like, you're like being sensationalist. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Especially this last year, because whatever the worst possible decision Trump can make regarding any international dispute over this last year, that's the decision that he makes. It's been a consistent theme of his this year. And people were like, nah, you're being sensationalist. It's not that serious. It's going to be like, no, we cannot pretend like this last year is the same as the 4 years prior or the 4 years prior to that. We cannot pretend like we don't see Israel ramping up its Greater Israel Project. We cannot pretend that these Epstein files do not have an implication on the decisions being made in Washington right now. We can't pretend like Bibi Netanyahu hasn't lost his fucking mind. We can't pretend that Mike Huckabee didn't just say, well, with his whole chest, Israel has a right to conquer the entirety of the Middle East. Sorry, an international incident. That's what they're calling it. But, bro, I'm telling y'all, the reason I'm telling y'all this is because, bro, this is I did a hotspot video warning about, I literally warn people about this, y'all. Not joking. I had to go back because it's important, because whenever I did it, everybody was like, oh, whatever, it's not a big deal. I said, oh no, it's a big deal, guys. Y'all should be paying attention. I guess because I have, family and friends in the military. I've been in the military myself. I lived in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So I know people in the Navy specifically, who are probably at the greatest risk at this moment. They could die in this war. It's just not a game. You know what I'm saying? I know people who live in the region that could die in this war. This is not a game. And everybody oh, no, it's cool. It was all good just a week ago. There's no way that the United States would consider using the same bait and switch strategy that they already used against Iran once again, right? Yeah, unfortunately, all indications show that is exactly what they intend to do. As the U.S. is set to meet with Iranian officials to create a peace deal, Netanyahu announced to his cabinet that the conditions are set for regime change in Tehran. And in case you thought Israel may be going rogue and he's acting without the U.S.'s knowledge, we're going to go ahead and remove all that doubt. He said that the U.S. and Israel is coordinating. And in fact, coordination is as high and as close as possible. They are literally about to try the exact same strategy again. They have zero intention on making peace with Iran because the goal is overthrowing the government by any means necessary. by hook or by crook. It was never about protests. It was never about nuclear weapons. It was never about the oil. Well, no, it definitely had something to do with the oil. Probably a lot to do with the oil, to be honest with you. But any of that altruistic bullshit that they've been selling you over the last several months, it had nothing to do with that. This is about Israel's Greater Israel Project and the U.S. cashing out on Iranian oil. And if they can stop Iran from bolstering the U.S. and Israel's adversaries while they're at it, then that's icing on the cake. I mean, we can't forget it was the U.S. under Trump that left the JCPOA, that caused the sanctions to start against Iran, which led to the economic issues Iran is suffering from right now. Despite all the Western powers involved in the JCPOA saying, Trump, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. They don't have nukes. Let's not forget it was Israel who attacked Iran the last time after what? The US had been pretending to facilitate a negotiation. How the hell did we end up on the timeline with the laziest imperialist overlords on the planet? They're not even trying to switch it up anymore, y'all. This is getting ridiculous, honestly. Bro, it was on the money. I saw somebody said my camera's freezing. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what the issue is with that. It's StreamYard. StreamYard does not like me, and I don't really know why, but you know, I'm trying to figure it out. But yeah, man, this is. I mean, when the Venezuela situation popped off, same thing. I mean, I've been warning for about maybe 2-3 years before that, but definitely over the last year, I've done several videos like, hey, everybody, hey, look over here. This man's wilding. Somebody should say something about this. I mean, I don't like Ro kind of like that, but to his credit and even to Massey's credit, they introduced that resolution for the war powers resolution to not only not allow Trump to make a unilateral decision regarding war with Iran, but also to do a roll call vote to make sure everyone is on record. They first introduced that legislation last year in June. And Hakeem Jeffries has the audacity to be like, we can do it next week. He did a whole press conference about that. Y'all know that, right? Well, I think it was Thursday. Yeah, it was Thursday because it was right before I did the show with Kyle. And I said on that show, if y'all watch that live stream, what did I say? I said, you know what scares me about that? I mean, it's irritating because this is about that's what Democrats do. Democrats are going to at least, at the bare minimum, turn the other way whenever there's a war to be fought, especially if it's on behalf of Israel. But I said what scares me about that is that Israel's going to attack this weekend. Yeah, you can book it. I literally said, you can book it because they introduced that resolution a year ago. Ro Khanna and Massey started bringing attention to it again the last 2 weeks. And on Thursday evening, Hakeem Jeffries finally decides, yeah, let's address it. We're gonna definitely vote on it. We don't want the war. We don't want the president going to another war. So yeah, we're gonna do it next week though. Well, why not today? Next week we got you. And I was like, that's it. It was Thursday when the talks were breaking down. It was pretty clear that these negotiations were never meant to be taken seriously. No, like the U.S. wasn't engaging in serious negotiations. They were farcical. Once again, give up your nuclear uranium, and not only give it up, but give it to us. No, don't build ballistic missiles anymore. It was beyond don't build nuclear weapons. It was like don't rebuild your nuclear facilities. It was never a serious negotiation. So that information starts coming out as Hakeem Jeffries says they're going to move the vote to next week. As the U.S. was moving boats, naval ships into position, what Trump referred to as an armada into position, as Israel was moving its military into position. It was clear last week this attack was going to happen today, and that they're all in on it. They are all in on it. With that, if that somebody asked me, well, you're going to blame Democrats. I said, I'm not blaming Democrats. I'm actually telling y'all there's no difference. Because could the Democrats, or would Trump have ignored this resolution? Sure. I'm almost betting that he would. But with the roll call vote in the midterms coming up, with a roll call vote on a war that is ridiculously unpopular, that is being fought on behalf of a country that is even more unpopular, that was initiated by a president who is even more unpopular in Donald Trump. Do you not think a roll call vote might affect the way some people are voting, might affect the rhetoric of some people, might affect future votes to continue financing this war, to finance Israel? Do you think it could affect the outcome of the midterms? If you were to impeach Trump, which, by the way, could start, I don't know, yesterday, since he's declaring war unilaterally without the vote of Congress, you have not only just the violation of the Constitution with him declaring war without Congress, but then you have a resolution where they're like, hey, bro, don't forget, you can't do this. And he still ignores them. So if that gets passed, you would have more eggs in your basket to impeach him. And it would be a fucking shit show. It would be a circus. Yeah, that. Unfortunately, people, Americans don't pay attention when everything is neatly in order and everything is going smoothly and there's no drama. Unfortunately, they've been conditioned to only pay attention when there's a circus. And that's the point. So if you have to make a circus for people to pay attention, and if that circus could possibly derail their plans months, if not years, then it is worth talking about. It is absolutely worth voting for. Because if it wasn't worth the damn, why would he push the vote? Why would he push the vote to the following week if the vote didn't mean anything? Exactly. So when they ran this operation early, well, it would be early in the morning Brazil time, but late in the evening US time. And as Trump is talking about how evil Iran is, targeting innocents, Iran, let me show you. Iran says death toll on strike on elementary school rise to 57. The toll from a strike on a girls' elementary school in Minab, Iran, which is close to the Strait, has risen to 57 students dead and 60 others injured, according to Iran's semi-official Tasman news agency, which cited the local governor. Iran claimed the school was struck during claims? Bruh. Iran claims, no, it happened. You know what? This is the show I'm talking about. Iran claims the school was struck during the U.S. Israeli military operation on Saturday. It was unclear whether any teachers had been killed or injured. The Tasnim news agency reported, citing the Minab governor. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi posted a photo on X purportedly showing the aftermath of a strike on a girls' elementary school in South Iran on Saturday. Yeah, those are the good guys, everybody. The good guys are literally attacking girls' schools, elementary schools. I forgot to mention that in the article. I'm sure that was conveniently left out on accident, on purpose. These are the good guys. They've been attacking. So they tried to go after the government officials. Luckily, from what we know so far, there have been no government officials, like no high-ranking government officials that have fell victim during these attacks, which is good. So because they couldn't get the government officials, it looks like Israel has decided they're going to go after civilian targets. Surprise, surprise. So you're seeing homes get hit, residential areas get hit. They gave up that quick. They gave up. Yeah, man, can't get them. Oh well, let's kill some civilians. And the way that Netanyahu tried to frame this, which is hilarious, he as the U.S. starting this, he did it on purpose, of course. He's trying to frame it as the U.S. started its operation. I just showed y'all in the video. It was weeks ago. Netanyahu made it clear, like as the U.S. were heading into negotiations with Iran, Netanyahu said, "Yeah, we don't give a fuck about all that. We're going to attack them." I do have to say though, I don't even know if you could call it a U.S.-Israel war with Iran whenever the U.S. is paying all the bills. We're paying all the bills. We're paying for our weapons. We're paying for their weapons. We're paying for our soldiers' health care. We're paying for their soldiers' health care, even after they're no longer soldiers. If Israel does get destroyed, inshallah, if Israel does get destroyed, who do you think will pay for the rebuilding? Whatever damage our military takes, Israel's not gonna like, hey man, we'll let y'all hold something until y'all can get us back. No. Like, we're paying all the bills. It's just that Israel's holding all the cards. It's nuts. Iran has indeed responded, by the way. They did. And they said they would. They said they would. Iran made it clear in these past negotiations, but right before they started, right, that they weren't going to just lay down and allow Israel and the U.S. to attack them again. The response will be far steeper. And I had said on previous live streams this past week and week prior, I said, I know they're not playing because y'all know who Dr. Morandi is, right? Professor in Tehran, journalist, commentator, worked for the Iranian government at one point. He is usually very conservative in his estimations of Iran's potential response to any Israeli aggression. And even Dr. Morandi was very clear. Yeah, no, if they attack us again, it's over for him. He had been saying that on multiple interviews. And he doesn't ever make predictions that bold. He's been very clear. Like, whenever I was like, oh no, it's serious. They're not playing this time. So I hope the U.S. has a better plan than whatever the hell they tried last time. I hope Israel has a better plan than whatever the hell they tried last time. And I hope the UAE is prepared for the backlash. Because when I last checked, they weren't all that happy whenever Huckabee made that statement that he made about Israel. But all the problems that y'all about to have today and going forward, you can go ahead and thank Israel and thank the U.S. and then thank your complicity. Because Iran has responded. You know what Iran did? Iran got the Fifth Fleet is huge. They got the U.S. Fifth Fleet in Bahrain, their headquarters. They struck their naval assets there. Qatar, they had missiles fired at Qatar, at the Al Udeid air base, but the Qatari authorities said that they intercepted those wave of missiles. Y'all think those will be the last wave of missiles that get sent? Probably not. Kuwait strikes on Aliyah Al Salam Air Base and the U.S. linked facilities, and Kuwaiti military says it engaged incoming missiles in its airspace. Still waiting for further updates. United Arab Emirates Missiles targeting the Dhafra air base and other sites. UAE says it intercepted several, but debris killed at least one person and caused damage to Abu Dhabi. Other countries affected. Jordan. Military reported intercepting at least 2 ballistic missiles entering its airspace. Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states, not directly the main targets in the first wave, but Iran's missile salvos were described as region-wide, and Saudi Arabia has condemned what it calls Iranian aggression against its neighboring Arab states. And that's why y'all going, okay. Okay, keep playing that game if y'all want to. So this was, once again, in my opinion, a reserved response. I mean, would y'all not agree? Because if they literally launched rockets at everybody damn near simultaneously. Bop, 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 bop. Attacking Israel, they did. Oh, of course, should have mentioned that. They did attack Israel. Supposedly the Iron Dome intercepted some, but who knows? I guess we might not know if what missiles actually intercepted the Iron Dome until later, because remember, whenever Netanyahu made it illegal to post videos of missiles reaching the cities that they were attacking, especially in Tel Aviv, because they also were showing the Iron Dome basically failing, and the fact that the Iron Domes had missile systems placed in residential areas, using people as human shields. The same thing Israel accuses everybody else of doing. One second. Right now they're saying that a U.S. fighter jet shoots down an Iranian drone approaching a U.S. aircraft carrier. A U.S. fighter jet shot down an Iranian drone as it approached the aircraft carrier USS Lincoln in the Arabian Sea on Tuesday, according to a statement from the U.S. Central Command. Later in the day, a Navy destroyer came to assistance of a U.S. flagged tanker that was harassed by multiple Iranian small boats as it transited the Strait of Hormuz. The drone was shot down by a Navy F-35C fighter from the carrier as it aggressively approached the Lincoln with unclear intent. Well, I know what the intent was. That intent was not unclear at all. But honestly, if it was a drone, I would be willing to bet that it was merely a reconnaissance mission and a warning. That's only, because once again, I think we've pretty much established at this point. If Iran wants you gone, you will be gone. If they want to penetrate your little plastic dome, they will penetrate it. He's like, we're going to give their military leadership a chance to get right, to save their people. That's what I believe. Hoping that there are some people with sense that still are part of the top brass. I mean, you launch if you need a fighter F-35 to go after a drone, all right, man, good luck. Y'all didn't have nothing that you could use to intercept it? You had to use an F-35 to intercept a drone? One drone? Just one? Okay, man. All right, bro. Okay. I'm just saying, that's not a good look. Oh, man. So those strikes carried out against the Erbil airport. It just happened. 1 second. Let me show y'all. Just giving y'all the most recent updates. So this is deep craters in Iran after U.S. Israeli attacks that appear from to be from bunker busters. This is Israel trying to go after the Iranian government, of course. You know what though? I will say though, Iran attacks U.S. bases in Iran, or excuse me, in Bahrain. Iran attacks U.S. bases in Bahrain. That was kind of like, oh, they're not playing. Because like they know what that means if they attack those other countries, what it could mean. And it also means they're prepared to deal with those consequences. I don't think those countries are ready, really, or I don't think that those countries are really ready for the smoke. I don't really believe. I just, that's also like Iran is testing their gangster right now. He says they're testing everybody's gangster, really. They really want to see how far they're willing to take it. And if they're really soldiers on the ground, because Trump said that they launched an operation and he implied that there were soldiers on the ground. If that's actually the case, whenever they start reporting soldiers' lives being lost or sailors' lives being lost, bro, I just really feel like there might be hell to pay. I really feel like it's going to get ugly quick. In the States, I mean. Somebody made a brilliant point the other day. I was watching them. They were saying that the timing of this was Netanyahu's last opportunity to do this. The midterms are coming up. The Republicans are not going to win. How could they? I mean, do I really have to go through the list of reasons? Once again, check your bank account, check your taxes, check the Epstein files, check how many times they tried to hide the Epstein files, check the economy. You check all those boxes? Okay, now you know. So with that being said, the Democrats would not explicitly allow Israel to do this while they have both houses, because that just looks bad. It's a bad look. They just suffer the consequences of allowing them to conduct a genocide. They got fucking plowed in the elections at local and federal levels. So Republicans would lose, but it would be like the weirdest. I don't think they'll lose like a super majority. I don't think that the Democrats will win a super majority. I mean, but like Republicans would lose. And now Trump has the excuse he needs. Every time Netanyahu approaches him with this idea of potentially going to war, sorry, man, I can't do it. The Democrats have power. They won't let me do it. They won't fund it. They won't let me send you the money. Right? It would be one of those situations where, and the World Cup is coming up. Trump is expecting this to be done in, another 12 days, maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe he's not expecting that. I know it's Israel that doesn't care. They don't care how long it takes. But if Trump was going to conduct this, it would definitely be before the World Cup. Because the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken, like it starts heating up for real around the time of midterms. So once again, you hit midterms and it's too late. But the World Cup also, like, you're going to have too many people visiting the U.S. Too many people flying, too many civilians in and out the country, in and out the countries around the world. So it's like, yeah, it's not going to work. Also, Israel doesn't want the bad press during the World Cup. They're already going to get bad press anyway. But even though they're not playing anybody because they got their ass handed to them, the world would be talking about this during the World Cup. And it just would be a bad look. When everything's crossed from the media, just politics and news into that sports entertainment world, like the genocide did, like it just makes everything worse. And he's in the middle of his hearings. It's just, he isn't popular, even though Israel and AIPAC still buy off whoever they have to. Netanyahu himself isn't popular. Like his time is running out. And once again, you're never going, y'all, tell me if y'all will agree with this. The Epstein files getting released when they did was a break glass in case of emergency move by Israel. Once again, we all know how it goes. AIPAC pays the bills. If those files were released, it was because Who allowed it to release? Or forced it to release? Okay. Obviously, Trump's name appearing as much as they did. That's not coincidence. Even once again, the assassination attempt, same thing. And this is the last opportunity that you will have to have a president who is as implicated in these files that you have been literally storing and gathering and doing blackmail for this particular purpose, for this moment. This is the last time you will have a president who is directly implicated. Think about that. Because they're all getting old. They're all dying. CEOs are having to apologize and retire. Politicians even, ambassadors, former prime ministers. Like, this is it. This is the last time you're going to have a president that's dumb? No, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? We might get another Joe Biden. But as far as dumb and willing to play your game, like without any regard for the consequences, because he's almost dead, almost out, only has one term. You can use legacy outside of politics against him. Like, yeah, this is it. If Israel does not get it done right now, Netanyahu and the Zionist bastards, they know there is no greater Israel project if this doesn't get done right now. And it's, once again, I've said this over and over again, the greater Israel project is not just about creating greater Israel. They want to be number one, número uno. Número uno, primeiro lugar. Sem competição. They don't want to compete with anybody. Even though the U.S. is their greatest asset in achieving the greater Israel project, who is also their greatest threat to them achieving ultimate dominance, undisputed dominance. The U.S. Iran also, obviously, because of the region, but the U.S. So you got military and economic on one side, and specifically economic and somewhat military on the U.S. side. So how do you solve both of those problems? You have them destroy each other. And then you come up and pick up the pieces that are left over. And without the U.S. dominance, militarily, economically, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and the like, they're not equipped militarily to handle a greater Israel that has its own allies, that already has its fingers in the pasta in every country that matters, right? They already got their people put in places. Like, don't get it twisted. Israel, they're prepared for whenever the moment comes. They already have politicians in every place that matters to make sure that whenever the vote comes, whenever that decision needs to be made, that they will vote in favor of Israel. Even though it could be at the detriment of their own country's interests. They have that already. That's what AIPAC is all about. I mean, shit, look what's going on right now. This doesn't benefit the U.S. at all. Like, in what way does this benefit the U.S., guys? We have our soldiers die for a war that didn't need to be started, for nuclear weapons that Iran doesn't have nor has any intention of making. When we know we can't win. Okay, fuck around if you want. When it comes to predicting these things, I'm pretty accurate. We cannot win. It's simple math, really. We don't even have an arsenal. We're depleted as it is, actually, if I'm not mistaken, because we've been giving weapons to Ukraine. Obviously, we've been fighting our little proxy wars. We've been giving weapons to Israel. We just had to give them new missiles. Remember, they had to rebuild the Iron Dome the last time Iran busted their ass. We're depleted, actually, according to recent estimates. We couldn't wage a full-scale war with Iran if we wanted to. And even if we could, match what we were at the beginning of the war in Iraq, for example, we still wouldn't be a match for Iran today. If we had everything and never started a war with Iraq, we still wouldn't be a match for Iran today, which is why we've never gone to war with them. That's why we've gone through such extensive efforts to sanction them, to assassinate their leaders, to overthrow their governments, to take their oil, to do it. We try everything else except for go to war. And that's because when the U.S. is doubting its capability to beat you in a war, they won't go to war with you. they'll just do everything else in hopes that they can finally overthrow the regime and install a friendly one. Is that not how we operate? There's a reason that Trump, after he assassinated Soleimani in Iran, retaliated. There's a reason that he didn't retaliate again. There's a reason they didn't retaliate after the 12-day war. This move stinks of desperation. This move stinks of a puppeteer who has their hand up the ass of the U.S. president, who is only president in name only. This is not our war. It's not really Iran's. It's Iran's war now. But what I'm saying is nothing. They did nothing to deserve this. They just existed, and that was more than enough. They existed with oil resources in Israel's way. And I will say this before I head up out of here. Yeah, man, pray for the Epstein class. Fuck them. Oh, pray for the end of the Epstein class. Oh yeah, we're doing that for sure. Because it's really, those are the ones like it's literally them. It's crazy how everybody implicated in the Epstein files, they're the ones who want to go to war with Iran. It's just super coincidental, right? If you believe in those things. I don't really believe in coincidences in politics, but whatever. But before we go, what was I going to say? Israel definitely has plans to get rid of the U.S. Like that, as a fact. I would bet my kids college tuition, which because they live in Brazil, they won't have to actually play. But you know, if they had to pay, I would bet my kids college tuition on it. There is a massive operation being conducted right now to sell the U.S. to the highest Zionist bidder. And as long as everybody keeps staying quiet about it, it's a problem. We have to forget, bro, the U.S. is a baby. It's a baby. Israel as a country even is a baby. And when I say a baby, I mean when you compare them to Iran, when you compare them to Russia, when you compare them to China, you know what those three countries, those three regions have in common? Even India, even though they're, Zionist cucks, but whatever. You know what those countries have in common? They all have been empires and have existed for centuries, in some cases, thousands of years before the U.S. was even thought of. Before someone came up with the concept of a democracy, these countries were in existence. And do y'all really believe that some little piece of shit country in the Middle East trying to use blackmail, they're trying to blackmail their way into supremacy, fall its way into an empire after their military might? If we're being really honest about it, when you look at the people who really had to fight World War I and World War II, and even some of those wars in between, like it wasn't like we just kind of came on the back end, throw a couple punches. It was like, yeah, we're the champions now. We couldn't even build our own atomic weapons. We had to go get some Germans that we paid prior to go build them for us. Because even the German Empire has been here around longer than the U.S. I don't believe that there's actually a current superpower that exists outside of the U.S. that is younger than the U.S. Think about that. Is there a current world superpower that exists today that is younger than the U.S.? And I'm pretty sure the answer is no. Except for maybe Israel, if you consider them one. There is no victory for us here. If we bowed out now, that would be like the best outcome. Like everyone, leftist, conservative, anything in between, y'all gotta call this out. We can't be in this situation when we just kind of turn away the next day, turn away tomorrow, turn away next week. Like it can't be that this time. Because they're coming. They're gunning for us. Those people are gunning for us. They're gunning for people all around the world. But if you live in the U.S. and you have a vested interest in the U.S. not being destroyed, not being balkanized, not having their economy obliterated, then you need to pay attention. Because this war in Iran has absolutely nothing to do with the U.S. Has nothing to do with us at all, actually. We don't need their oil, y'all. I mean, people forget, we don't need their oil. We have nuclear weapons already. No, Iran cannot reach us with their ballistic missiles, even though some would argue that if they could, maybe this wouldn't be happening, but I digress. We don't need their money. They're not bothering us. So why are we doing this? Why are we spending billions of dollars to go get our asses whooped? Because somebody is forcing us to. With a gun held to our back. That's why everything played out the way it did for this last year. It was all the lead up to this moment. And it's really, I know Americans say, well, China and Russia, it'd be nice if y'all joined in. And yeah, it would be great. Like, hell yeah, y'all want to handle those guys over there? You want to handle BB? I don't know how this man keeps dodging missiles, bro. He got to be the most slippery motherfucker. Woo! Just one. We just need one to connect, bro. We could at least stave off some of this drama for a little bit if just one will connect. It's a different conversation for a different day. But I know some Americans are like, man, China and Russia. And yeah, that would be nice. But at the same time, bro, this is our problem. We let it get this bad. We let them assassinate our leaders, our presidents, even people we don't like, in broad daylight. And we knew it was them. At least some of the most powerful, influential people knew it was them. And they stayed quiet, or they supported it, or they were too scared to say anything. We've known. They've killed our people. They've killed American citizens. Israelis have killed more American citizens than Iranians have. Yep, it's a fact. This is our problem. We can't keep waiting on Russia and China to go be tough guys for us. We can't. It's like, nah, it's not reasonable. They're like, we're good over here, actually. Because they ain't about to do that shit over here because, China's an ethno state. So, I mean, not purposely, because they have a pretty loose visa, actually. But still, because of the billions, once again, it's what happens when you've been around for centuries and centuries and centuries. Russia isn't an ethno state, but shit, they have culture and consistency. And pride. The U.S., it's like, okay. The U.S. needs to solve its own problems. We cannot keep counting on Russia and China to come save the day. It is what it is. It would be nice. Don't get me wrong, because I know that they don't need to. They probably don't even. They don't even need to send anybody to get rid of Israel. If we're being real, but at the same time, that doesn't really even make the position of the U.S. better, because now it's like everybody realized, damn, bro, you was getting manipulated by those little people over there, by that little country. So y'all actually don't even have any power, and the only power that y'all came from them. Or the only power that people that do have power came from them. So we just took out your only little apparatus of power. Bet. Run the board. Run the block. Run them. So either way, if China and Russia have to solve this problem for us, and there's no way to control the narrative of how that came to be, like we were able to do in World War I and World War II, that doesn't leave us in any situation that's better. If the U.S. actually wants to come out looking like a superpower after this, Like they're the same big bad U.S. It's the U.S. that has to solve the problem. Sparky, thank you for super chat. Operation Epstein Fury. Yeah. That's basically what it seems like. It's Epstein class, bro. It's all them. And somebody said, "Oh, well, Putin is pathetic." I can't call y'all forget how many wars he's fighting right now. And we also still can't count him out. So there's that. But y'all forget, like, this man's damn near fighting a separate front war himself, trying to deal with NATO, trying to protect African countries that no one else wants to protect. Once again, we can't keep, like, we want to judge people and judge leaders off of our criteria, off of our very narrow view of how they're handling a certain situation that the U.S. created. But we can't forget, like, when it came to the Sahel states, China helped a little bit when it came to infrastructure. But when it came to putting manpower on the ground to help them fight the terrorists that the U.S. and U.S. and Ukraine and Israel actually have been training to try to overthrow those AES governments, it was Russia that put bodies on the ground. They sacrificed their people to protect Africans that were having their lives threatened by, once again, us. So we can't really try to judge, especially U.S. citizens. We can't judge what another leader does whenever that leader is busy trying to solve problems that our government created because we're busy fucking trying to say, vote blue no matter who, or all those damn dim-tards, those liberals over there, and y'all getting played. That's us. That's on us, guys. So like I said, if we're going to solve that problem, it got to come from us. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of For the People podcast. Make sure you like this video, share this video, leave a comment below after the video is done to help us in the algorithms. Make sure you subscribe if this is your first time here. If you're watching on X, make sure you go to the link that I posted on X, or if you're watching on Upscrolled, make sure you go to that link and you subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on that notification bell. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to keep you updated as much as we can over the next several days and probably the next several weeks regarding this issue, regarding this illegal war, these war crimes being committed in broad daylight once again. Try to keep you updated on it. I'll try to keep you updated on it as much as humanly possible. That being said, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.